welcome to Let's Talk Personal. I've missed you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's been a little bit of a break. I needed to take a breather, but we're back, we're live, and we have shows all the way until almost the new year. So thanks for coming back. Thanks for showing up. I know we have a lot of new eyes on the show tonight. So let me introduce myself. I'm Frances Reimers. I am the host of Let's Talk Personal, and I'm also the founder of Firestarter, a little company located here in the DC metro area that works with athletes, celebrities, and executives to help them create and grow their brand. So naturally, I would have a show where I do nothing but talk about brand and social media and living our lives completely online. If you're wondering why is Frances sitting at the desk by herself, well, this week's guest is in a little bit of traffic, so I'm going to start off the show and we're going to circle back with him when he arrives. For those who are new to the show, if you would like to talk personal, you can do so on Twitter at LTP Brand Radio. You can also do so on Instagram at Let's Talk Personal. If you would like to talk personally to me, and I always hope that you do, your DMs are always endless comedic fodder for me. You can connect with me on Instagram at Firestarter CEO, or you can connect with me on Twitter at Your Firestarter. If you'd like to check out Firestarters as a company, you can do so at www.yourfirestarter.com. So with me this week, when he arrives, is entrepreneur extraordinaire Tien Wong. He is going to be talking all about small business, business leadership, networking, social media, the whole nine. So sit tight and give us a second, and hopefully during this break he'll be able to make it in the audience, make it into the studio. But if you have any questions, I have my trusty phone with me. Per usual, feel free to text or reach out to me via social media. But we're going to take a break, and hopefully our guest is with us when we come right back. So stay tuned. Well, hey there. Thank you so much for hanging on during this break. As you can tell, I am still sitting here by myself. So we're going to just move forward with the show, and hopefully our guest is able to get here. For those of you that live in the DC metro area, you totally understand that rush hour traffic can be a nightmare. So we will hopefully get TN here as soon as humanly possible. But in the meantime, I did want to talk about kind of the heart of what I wanted to get at tonight, which was entrepreneurship and brand and networking, and how all of those pieces kind of fit into one. And obviously, I wanted the expert of experts of entrepreneurs to talk about this, but obviously being an entrepreneur myself, this is something that obviously, let's throw that one in there one more time, hits really close to home because I live and breathe it every single day. And so what I wanted to talk about is often I'm asked by small business owners or potential entrepreneurs of what to do when you're thinking of launching your brand, that you're trying to grow your brand. And get off the starting block as a business owner. What are steps that you should take? What are things that you should do? And so what I like to let people know as they're building their brand as an entrepreneur or small business owner, to keep it simple. A lot of people will get themselves really wrapped around the axle about, oh, does the logo look specifically this way? Is my tagline specifically this? Is my value proposition this strong? Honestly, when I launched Firestarter, I picked a name, I made sure the URL was available, and I just kind of took off to the races. I'm sure there's a lot of business people that would probably disagree with me of that's the right thing to do, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the people I wanted to work with, and I knew the message points that had to be there in order to serve this population. And so I just needed a name and a business card and a website, and I kind of took off to run. But I wanted to be very clear that I live my brand as well as preach my brand. And that's extremely important to me for entrepreneurs and small business owners, that they don't just sell this product or sell this service or are this person, but it is truly who they are authentically. We live in a world where people will actually go online and look you up before calling you. And so when they look at your website, when they look at your social media, when they look at videos of you at conferences or other things that you've given, they want to feel like they're talking to the authentic person who is going to be giving them the product or service. And so it was very vital to me when I was starting my company that people not only understand that I am competent in this space and I understand integrated marketing and public relations and events, but they also feel that I live it as well. And I feel that that comes through in my social media, my website, presentations that I've given online, interviews that I've given. I feel that as much as a human possibly can be, that people, what they see is what they get. And I think when somebody is entrusting you to create and grow their brand, that they believe that you can do it because they've seen it with your own. And so it doesn't matter if you are, a CPA or a lawyer or a marketer or whatever the case may be. Live and breathe whatever it is that you're truly trying to sell, because if people go to your website and they don't feel that you're truly passionate about what you're doing, or they don't feel like they get a sense of who you are as an individual, I don't feel they're likely to take that next step from thought to action. People want to buy from people that they trust. Think about that when you need your roof, your gutters cleared, or some sort of service, and you're talking to your friend sitting next to you. That person might be like, "Oh, Bob cleans out gutters," and so they give that validation. Well, we now live in a world where online platforms are now the friend giving the validation. And so when people look at your materials, they want to feel like they know you and that you are somebody that they trust and somebody that they feel like they can do business with, grow with, and that sort of thing. And so that's why I feel it's so important that entrepreneurs understand and grow their brand. But today you didn't dial in today just to hear from me. So we're gonna take another break and we're gonna find out what's going on with today's guest. Hopefully he is safe and well. But hold on one tight, and we're hopefully when we come back from this break, I will have a guest sitting right next to me. So hold tight. I mean, live TV, what are you going to do? Thank you so much for joining me. Our guest is still hanging out in traffic somewhere in the DC metro area, but the show must go on. We are live, so guess what? You get to learn more about me and my thoughts, which is not what you tune in for, but that's what you're getting today. So over the break, I got a really excellent text from a really excellent dear friend that I wanted to bring up something about the hustle and how your brand plays a role in your hustle as an entrepreneur or a small business owner. And my hustle got me so far lately that, I mean, that was a serious humble brag, and I'm gonna really just own that. It got me so far as recently I kind of hustled my way into providing brand training for the entire Denver Nuggets roster, and it was a really awesome opportunity to educate these young men about how to create and grow their brands. And as you can imagine, these individuals have very well established names and recognition. Even the youngest, less famous, I use that in quotes because, you know, they're more famous than I am, less famous guys on the team. It was really great to sit there and talk with them, and a few of them actually one-on-one about ways that they can change and adjust and grow their brand. So I say that because brand is never finished. Our brand is it's not a one and done sort of thing. Brand is ever evolving, and every day I'm constantly thinking about how to grow and evolve my brand. And so it was really fun to sit down with these young men who have quadruple the fan base as I do, but be able to sit down with them and find new honeypots, as I like to call them, new honeypots of opportunity for them to impact their audience more effectively, find new audiences. A big thing with our brands is we get very tunnel vision. We think that only these people over here are our audience. Actually, we have infinite numbers of audiences. Think about everything you're into, everywhere you've been, every kind of job you've had. These are all honeypots of people that we can tap into to help get your message out there and help keep growing and getting your brand out there. So it was a really great opportunity for me to sit and chat with them because, as you can imagine, people at that level of the stratosphere, helping them create and grow their brand is a very complex challenge, and it was a very complex challenge I was more than delighted to talk about. And if you are the VP of player development for another professional team, I'm more than happy to come in. Or if you're the owner of a small business and just have a bunch of staff who really are interested in growing their brand, I'm more than happy to come in and talk with you too. Because why, as a business owner, would you want to have your employees growing their personal brand? Well, the easy answer is, rather than having one marketing stream, when you allow your employees to create and grow their personal brand, you now have infinite marketing streams. And so you're utilizing the people that are right there within your own office and allowing them to demonstrate their talents and capabilities and passions. And BT Dubs, they work at your organization, and so your reach goes from here to like this. So if you're a small business owner, or even if you're a large business owner, and you've been toying with the idea of allowing your staff or encouraging your staff to create and grow their personal brands, it certainly is a great opportunity. But I do caution, if you are going to set out on that journey, save yourself a lot of time and frustration. Make sure that you have a social media policy in place, and let the staff know what that policy is so that they understand the rules and expectations of what you as an employer is looking for when they're putting their message out there. Also, you as the employer, you need to walk the walk and talk the talk. It's not enough just to be like, okay, XYZ company supports you people, go expand your brand. You as the organizational lead needs to also be working on your brand and expanding your brand. And so if you're thinking about allowing your employees to expand their brand, especially on company time, you should probably take the lead. And if you need to take the lead but don't really know how to take the lead, or uncomfortable about taking the lead, that's definitely something that I can chat with you about. I've helped people at all levels of their willingness to be visible or not visible. But it really is a great way to help your employees find their own voice and harness the power of their own voice for not just the benefit of when they're working for you, but the benefit of their entire career. Encouraging them to think about who they are, what their story is, what they want their story to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, is a great assessment tool. It's a great human resources tool, and it's a great way to help retention within your organization, because it shows your employees that you're invested in them, not just right now, but for the long haul of their career. Statistically, it's a great mechanism for millennials, as they're already doing this anyway. So if you're a supervisor that is actively helping them and allowing them to do this really is a great way for you to provide a platform to give your employees something that they're proud of, and a way for them to demonstrate what they do for their company. So we are going to take yet another break and figure out what's going on. But when I come back, I'm either going to have a guest, or I'm going to go into talking about networking and how that impacts your brand. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm here.
I didn't lie. I swear. I really had a guest today. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
As I informed everybody, DC traffic is a nightmare.
It's horrible.
It's awful.
Yeah, the worst.
I mean, don't you know someone that can like build you a flying car or some sort of?
I joke with my kids that one day when I can afford it, I'll get a helicopter.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. But thank you for joining us. And for those who are tuning in and don't know this face, I know that we have a lot of people tuned in for the first time today who does know this face. But for those out there who don't, this is Tien Wong, who is the entrepreneur extraordinaire of the DC metro area. I've been bragging on you. I'm going to let you brag on yourself a little bit. So tell everyone at home a little bit about what you do, who you are, where you're from. Get us up to speed really quick.
Right, yeah, so I'm Tien Wong, and I basically am a community builder. I'm an investor and chairman of 2 tech companies. And originally I'm from New Jersey. My parents are both immigrants. Went to school in New Jersey, went to college in New Hampshire, and came down to DC to... You're from New Hampshire? Oh, good. Where?
Well, I went to UNH.
Okay, I'm Dartmouth, so Hanover, New Hampshire, and moved to DC when I actually did an internship here for Bill Bradley, my senator from New Jersey, back in the day. Really liked it. I did a startup. I had 3 companies in college. I had a startup right after school. Didn't work out. Got into law school here. So came down here, deferred law school 3 times, wound up getting a real job in commercial real estate, went to law school, dropped out of law school, then wound up starting a business that wound up growing to be one of the largest call center companies in the U.S. And we had about $80 million in revenue, 2,200 employees. Sold it in 2003 to a public company, Affiliated Computer Services, which was then bought by Xerox. And the company now is about $1.5 billion in revenue, maybe approaching $2 billion in revenue. It's part of Conduent, which is a spinoff from Xerox.
Right.
Yep. So that brings you up to speed a little bit. I'm a community builder because of the Connectpreneur community.
Yes.
Which we've been doing for almost 7 years.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
So let people know what exactly this is. This is it is the premier event in the DC metro area for entrepreneurs to get together. So talk a little bit about what that is, why you started it. And
I would even say, so we've done 28 events. We do 2 in Baltimore, 2 in Bethesda, and 2 in Northern Virginia every year. We've had over 6,000 people attend over the last 6 years. It is 70% of our attendees rank it the number 1 tech and investor networking event in the Mid-Atlantic. So
beyond DC,
we're getting out of the DMV.
You're getting big time here.
Well, we have people flying in from the Valley, Albuquerque, New York, Boston, Arizona, Florida. So it's really a lot of people coming in from out of town now.
Right.
Like maybe 10% of the audience is in from out of town, maybe 15.
And what was the reason for starting the event? What was the thought process?
Yeah, we had very humble, when we started the event, we just wanted to create an event to promote our tech companies. So we brought customers and ex-customers and co-investors. And we had already been doing this a little bit, with groups of 20 or 40, and then someone said, why don't you just do a big event every quarter instead of doing these monthly events? So that's what we did, and it wound up growing, and now it has its own identity. It has its own website, connectpreneur.org. It's got its own Facebook page. It's got its own Twitter handle.
And when is the next event?
Next event is November 16th in Baltimore at the Hyatt Regency Inner Harbor. We will have 400 plus people there. We've got a great lineup of presenters, speakers. The one after that will be December 13th at the Marriott Falls Church in Fairview Park Falls Church, Virginia. So we've done a lot of events at that Marriott, and we'll have 500 people at that one.
Oh my God. Well, the whole point, or one of the points of these sessions, is for people to be able to network. And so for those who are thinking about coming, or either at the November event or the December event, how do you make the most of this event before, during, and after the event in terms of networking, or just really getting the most meat on the bone of that event?
So I think it's not just our event, it's any event. I think if you go out to meet people and connect with people and engage with them, you should do your homework. And homework means, finding out what the audience is going to look like, who are likely people that will be there, what types of people will be there. If you know specific names, then you can see, who you personally want to meet with. do some homework on them, go on their LinkedIn, go on their social media accounts, go on Google, find out who they are, and come up with a compelling reason to get their attention and engage with them. So I would do that. I'd get there early, always get there early. Generally with networking events, ours is a breakfast networking event, but for afternoon networking events, I always tell my guys, don't eat. I'm sorry, don't eat at the event. So eat before you go. So that you're not spending time, oh, I'm hungry,
Right.
And
or having awkward conversation when you're trying to do that whole thing.
Right, you're holding 3 plates
and you have
you've
the
got
plate on
cheese
top of the cup
falling
and you
Yeah.
can't shake hands,
Yeah.
you can't exchange cards.
So I always
awkward.
tell people, eat before you go to a networking
Right.
event so you're not hungry when you get there and you
Right.
can work.
Right.
And then the other ones, don't drink.
Right.
Because that clouds your thinking.
Right.
You can drink afterwards, but just don't drink in a professional environment. I'm not a big fan of drinking. But at our event, just do your homework. We publish the list of attendees at every event on our website, connectpreneur.org. We have the program books from all of our prior events
Right.
and unlike most event organizers, we actually put the name, title, and company name of every attendee in the book.
That's good.
So you can go and look at the last 4 or 5 events in Virginia, or in Baltimore, the
Right.
last one we did in April, see who attended, and maybe there's a good chance they're going to come back.
Right.
That type of person would be there.
I
Yeah.
really enjoy networking events where, one, they either provide you social media tiles or information to
Yeah.
put out there. So for those of you who are event people or networking people, anytime you can give someone like myself, who is very active on social media, a tile that I can either alter to say that I'm attending the event or speaking at the event, or just even like a sticker that I can put on my social media platforms, that's
Yeah.
not only good for your brand as the event, but also
Right.
their brand as a person showing their connectivity. But I also love when I go to networking events and they color code badges. I don't
Yeah.
know. I love
Yeah.
it when they, like, I know if I look across the room and I see somebody with a blue badge or a green badge, that there's somebody I want to do business with.
Right.
And so I don't waste
Yeah.
precious time talking to somebody that's maybe not in the industry
Yeah.
that I'm looking for.
Yeah, we do both. We
perfect.
have most of our events we color code the badges. We
Right.
have speakers and sponsors
Right.
and presenters and investors.
Right.
But we've also experimented with no color coding and have had almost no feedback when we didn't do the color coding. So for
Really?
our group, that's not so much. I think the investors some of them don't want to be flooded by
Right,
the presenter.
sure,
There's
sure,
a lot of
I can
people looking for
understand that.
capital, a lot of
Right.
founders and entrepreneurs.
Right.
For them, it's convenient to see who's an investor.
Right.
But I think I agree with you though. It makes you more efficient for
Right.
sure.
But
Yeah.
when you have very limited time, you want to make the most of it.
That's right.
How do you choose your speakers for the event?
Well, we try to get newsmakers, so
Yeah.
people who are in the news that have just sold a company or just took a company public or just about to take a company public,
Right.
Or just wrote a book.
Right.
Like we had Terry McAuliffe right before the election. We had Steve Case right after he wrote the book.
Right.
We've had Seth Goldman from Honest Tea a couple times after
He's
he
great.
wrote a
He's
book,
great.
and then we had
Right.
so he did a book signing for us. Then we had Seth again. I think after he closed the Coca-Cola deal or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, we've tried to do that. Duke Chung right after he sold to Microsoft. We had Rick Rudman literally 5 days after he sold Vocus, which is a public company.
Right.
We had Joe Payne about a week before he sold his company to Oracle
Right.
for almost $1 billion. So so it's a lot of it is trying to get it timed at the right time.
Right. And yeah, and
So
make it the most.
yeah, I mean these are busy people, so it's really
Yes.
hard to, as you guys who do events know, it's really hard to get busy people to agree to a date
Right.
way in advance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to go to a break really quick and to allow him to catch his breath and for us to get situated. But when we get back, we're going to talk about personal brand and social media and living our lives online. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Great, thank you. We're live on Facebook Live though, right? Or no?
And we're back. Thank you for joining us. Now, those who have been tuning in since the top of the show, I talked a lot about entrepreneurs and their brand, and I referenced a few things that not to get hung up on as you're building your brand as an entrepreneur, small business owner, but you can take it to, we can arch this story to when you have a company and it's grown and it's big. Talk about a little bit about the evolution of your brand and how that has changed throughout the course of all of these businesses and different opportunities that you've had, especially if there's any takeaways for people at home that are at the beginning of their journey.
That's a great question. And I wasn't cognizant of my own brand probably for many, many years until just recently, relatively recently. And I think the brand, in my mind, is just what people say about you or think about you when you're not in a room, So I was always known as a guy that works really hard, in my industry, we were known as a really high-quality company and really care about the customer. So a lot of the things that I want to be known for and that I really believe in was pretty consistent with what people thought about us. And then I think with the advent of social media and our activity increasing on things like Facebook, Facebook page and having our own Facebook page and activity on Twitter and Instagram, I think that we started focusing more on making sure the brand was very consistent with what we stand for. And I think that it evolved sort of with no intention at all. It just kind of happened. And then as time went by, we got more and more aware of things. And then now we're trying to do the best we can to manage the brand.
And when you say more and more aware of things, any like concrete examples of what you were starting to become aware of? Was it the feedback that you were getting? Was it a shift in how people were responding to you in person, online? What?
Yeah, it was all of that.
Okay.
Just a lot of responses on LinkedIn, a lot of messages, emails, cold responses, people that were looking for advice. Connectpreneur had a lot to do with this, I think, because that kind of put us at the center of this big community. And people started viewing us as community leaders and people that could help startups achieve things and connect people with investors. And I think that sort of also helped accelerate the brand becoming what it has become, and just being more recognizable in the community and stuff like that we didn't actively go out and look for, but it happened, and not saying that it's bad or turning it down at all. It's quite an honor, but just a lot of that stuff just happening has made us more aware that way. Right.
And I mean, would there be knowing what you know and this evolution of what you're learning about brand as you go along, is there any particular thoughts or advice that you would give to people who are just at the beginning of their journey, now having hindsight being 2020?
Yeah, I would say there's two things: know yourself and be yourself. So you have to know yourself first. So what do you really care about, and what are you trying to do for your customers, and what are you focused on? And then you have to be yourself. Like, don't be fake, because people know when you're being fake. No one wants to deal with fake people. Plus, it's difficult to be fake. It's a lot easier to just be yourself and talk the way you normally talk and dress the way you normally dress and act the way you normally act. And there's so many people out on social media with different characters and different traits and different ways of speaking, and they're all successful, quote unquote. Yeah. Because they're real. They're themselves. So those are the two things I would say, is sort of know yourself and be yourself.
Right. And it's, people, authenticity, I think, is starting to become a little bit of an overused word. We're going to have to, I think we're going to have to find a new word to mean authentic, but authenticity is extremely important.
Yeah, just like being natural. Right. Or being, like, you sent me this list of questions and I didn't even read it because I don't want to read it, because then I have to think about what I'm going to say. I want to just react to it in the moment. Yeah. Which is me.
Which is you, and that's awesome.
But there are many people that would prepare and they'd study for 3 hours, and that's them. So that's fine. But that's not me to study all that stuff and have all these conception, things I'm going to say.
Well, because you're not a canned statement person. Whereas,
maybe not. I don't know.
but I've had people come in to be on the show, and they have this sheet, and they've literally filled it out from top to bottom. Yeah. And so everybody handles it. But the other thing that I always stress with athletes, particularly that I work with, is authenticity is so important, because you can craft everything online. Everything online can be glossy pictures and well-crafted statements.
Yes.
But the second somebody meets you in person and you're
Right.
kind of a douche, it all
Yeah.
just comes
I get that with
crumbling down.
politicians.
Oh,
Like,
ugh.
you know, when I first met Bob Dole, I couldn't believe what a warm and nice guy he was, and how
Right.
funny he was. When I
Yes.
met Hillary Clinton, I couldn't believe what a warm and funny and nice lady she is.
Right.
Even when I met Trump, I couldn't believe what a nice guy he was.
Right.
Because, you know, the media and the persona is it's just has you thinking a certain thing about somebody, especially
Right.
like a guy like Bob Dole.
Right.
Or Hillary when
Yes.
she was the ice queen
Princess,
or whatever.
right, yeah.
But she's a very warm person.
Yes,
And
yeah.
Trump, by the way,
One
Trump
time
is
I
a
met-
very nice guy. He doesn't appear that way. But
That's what people say.
it's amazing. But that's like, you know, when you talk to people, you kind of can feel them. But when you're seeing them on TV, and I'm sure it's like that with athletes.
It
know?
can be.
Yeah.
The challenge they have is, I think for athletes, their true personality, their comfortable personality shines through on social,
Mm-hmm.
but they're really kind of, a lot of them are introverts. And so
Right.
when you see them in public, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want
Right.
to. They're afraid of you,
Yeah.
actually, because you're coming at them like a excited cocker
Right,
spaniel, and they're
right.
just like, I need my space. And so what ultimately happens is that the people meeting them is like, well, there's this big loudmouth person online, but in person you have nothing to say. What
Right.
gives?
But Chuck Barkley he's
I
the
know.
real deal.
He is the same
He's
person.
like that in person
Yes,
also, 'cause I have met him. Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
what you
He's-
see
yeah.
is what you
He
get
is.
with
He
that
And you
one.
probably know him, right?
I've never personally met him, but I don't. I have met Shaquille O'Neal, and
Oh,
I
okay.
assure you that is the same thing.
Oh, is he that way?
Oh,
Oh,
he
okay.
is. He is so much fun and so funny and entertaining. A little frustrating if you're trying to like direct him to do something because he's so big. He just doesn't have to
Right.
listen to anybody.
Yeah.
But what you see is absolutely what you get. And I think as a business owner, as a community leader, I think that's so refreshing that 360 degrees of that human is what you get. And
Yeah.
that's where the
I
authenticity.
think it's easier to live that way too, so you don't have
Yes.
to like pre-plan anything. You don't have to think things through. You just kind of
Right. You just show up.
yourself and show up.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a lot easier to be that way.
It gets exhausting if you feel you have to maintain some sort
Yeah.
of aura.
Some image or some
Right.
persona. Right. Exactly.
Right. I've gotten on this show. I've gotten a lot of flack because, like, apparently there's some people who think I have big hair, whatever. But
No, you have nice hair.
Thank
It's
you,
not that
thank you.
big.
Today it's very.
I'm
it's
from
very-
New Jersey.
It's
I
very
know big hair.
And you've lived in Jersey in the '80s. Oh my God, a lot of perm.
Right.
A lot of
right.
perm.
No, I'm from Jersey. I'm proud of it. I love New Jersey.
You know, I have spent some quality time in New Jersey. I got
Yeah.
lost in Newark once, which was not
that's-
pleasant.
yeah,
that was rough. That was rough. But the rest
Yeah.
of the time in New Jersey, I'm just always on the turnpike. It's just the never-ending
Yeah.
turnpike. And I'm from Wyoming, so
Yeah.
being on the New Jersey Turnpike, I'm like, this is the seventh
Right.
circle of hell. This really is. But when you, I absolutely agree. And I think as business owners, and especially as entrepreneurs, especially if you're trying to go out there and get capital and get people to hire you, you feel like you have to fit a certain role.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying just do you, and the
Yeah,
opportunities
I mean,
will come.
you want to be professional. You
of
wanna
course,
be,
of course, you can't. You
wanna
know, you can't run around in a clown
Right,
suit. But
exactly. So they're within limits, but generally be yourself. But if you're presenting to an investor, a lender, a customer, you have to, you have to talk the talk,
Right.
and do the right things that
Right.
they want to see.
When you say talk the talk, do you have any feeling? And I mean, I'm very, I've only been doing what I'm doing for 15 years, so I'm a baby. I'm a fetus in my industry. I feel like the business environment, in terms of talking the talk, I feel it's getting more casual. Maybe not in the tech sector as much, but in my world, I feel like business conversations are getting a lot more loosey-goosey. Like people it's not as rigid as it used to be.
Yeah,
People are
I
having
agree.
more of a personality.
I think it's an age thing. It's a generational thing.
Right.
There's a convergence between work and home play.
Right.
And it kind of is coming together, especially among the younger set.
Right.
And I think you're right. That's
Right.
I would agree with that.
and
yeah.
and I feel it's a lot of people are very concerned that this more casual business environment is going to hurt business. I think it's going to help business because it brings more community. You know, we're living in a world now where people are trying to kind of undo old injustices.
I think certain industries, like you don't want to be casual in, say, the wealth management sector,
right. No, you can't be casual in that.
Trust is like
whatever
the thing,
right? No.
But I think if people are if businesses are focused on goals, customer goals, and outcomes, you can't go wrong. That's the bottom line. Whether you're casual or less casual or more formal.
Right.
Yeah, but certain industries you do have to have that formality.
Absolutely.
Certainly the defense industry.
Right.
And dealing with the intelligence community, there's a certain set of protocols and formality that's required.
Yes.
Whenever I go to the Pentagon, I have to get a haircut. I have to wear
Really?
socks. I have to put on a tie.
Wear socks, he says.
But because you don't want to be too far out of the box.
Right, yeah, because then they
won't
don't
get
they won't talk to you.
Exactly.
Right, absolutely. I've only been inside the Pentagon in my 15 years in DC. I've only been inside the Pentagon one time, and I wore a skirt that was about mid thigh, and it became a DEFCON 5 situation. Like people are looking at me like, oh. Right. And so yes, there's a protocol that must be adhered to in certain industries. But in others, in the general business community, fleece vests are you walk into. I think 15 years ago, if you would have strolled in a fleece vest, people would have been like, okay.
That's right. That's true.
But now today, if you probably could show up to a meeting wearing this outfit right here, and people would not even blink an eye. Blink an eye. Okay. Yeah. And so there's definitely a shift. And I think social media has played I truly believe that social media has played a massive role in that shift.
Yeah.
Because we're now communicating more frequently. We're seeing people in their natural habitats more often.
Yeah.
And
a lot of behind the scenes looks.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so we just have a couple of minutes left. And so I'm just dying to know, as a social media consumer, what is one social media trend that you wish would just stop? Just go away.
As a social media consumer?
Yes.
Well, if I don't like something, I won't consume it.
Right.
So I've been unfollowing some of the loudmouths that I see occasionally.
It's getting too much.
It is. There's a lot of noise out there. So
it is.
Luckily we have options. So
right.
if you want to be entertained, if you want to be educated, if you want to be conduct business, you have different channels for that.
Who's your favorite kind of person on social media to watch and consume and keep track of what they're up to?
I love Brian Fanzo. Brian,
if
you're listening,
he's great.
He's
awesome. Great. Yes.
Tony Robbins, I think.
So many people.
20 years ago, I thought he was crazy. But now I think he's actually calm compared to all these other guys that are out there.
He is kind of the more docile of the bunch, but he's still, his staying power is unbelievable.
Yeah, and his principle, I've read his books. His principles are solid. Yeah. They're really solid, and it is grounded in a bunch of research that he's done in the sense that he's read a lot of books, and he's distilled a lot of the teachings and principles from these books into some simplicity, which I actually agree with most of his stuff.
Yeah,
so I enjoy watching his stuff. I'll watch his YouTube videos, and he makes sense to me today. 20 years ago, he was a little bit too crazy.
I would.
Some of the other guys today out there are just out there.
They're a little militant.
I think there's just a lot of talk.
Yeah,
a lot of guys that they're sort of on their way, but they're acting like they know what they're doing.
Right.
And I think they're finding we're all finding our way, but they are acting more as sort of the gurus when it could be borderline irresponsible. Like there's guys out there that have millions of followers. They're saying, quit college, go do your startup.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's irresponsible, and you can't do this one size fits all either.
No.
Everything's situational and individual to the person. So
absolutely, that's an excellent point, and I am completely and utterly heartbroken. We are out of time. Thank you so much for braving the DC traffic to get here. Tune in next week when we are going to keep the business and leadership theme kind of rolling along with my dear friend Ebong Eka, who will be joining us to talk about some finance and leadership.
He's good to follow on social media.
He is. He's great. Great video out today. So thank you for joining us. Follow Tien on his social media sites. Yes. I am Frances Reimers. Feel free to follow me as well. And thank you and have a good night.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.